Happy Obi-Wan Kenobi Wednesday for all of you guys. We have the penultimate episode 5 episode to talk about in full spoiler detail, so let's dive into this right now. If the force is with you just as it is with me, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button as well as comment down below your guys' overall thoughts. So after last week's episode, which was overall just fine, it was easily the weakest episode of the show so far, we get back on board with what possibly is one of the most intriguing and best set up episodes yet for one of the Star Wars and just in general Disney Plus series. Now, just as one thing I want to kind of get out of the way, the more and more I watch this show, and I'm super hyped to see next week's episode. One, I'll be on vacation in California. We'll still be covering that. I'll be staying up till midnight, even though I'm going to Disneyland the next day, but I'm very excited to talk about that. But the other thing is I just think this show should have been a movie. Like, this would have been so grand seeing in a theater, like a 2-hour movie of Obi-Wan Kenobi, less filler, just straight to the point of what's going on. But I still do like that overall this is a character study for many different characters other than Kenobi. We get Reva and many other characters kind of living with their past guilt and what they have been doing within their lives. Now, a lot of different things in this episode happen. Stuff with Reva, Vader, and we even find out that, of course, the Grand Inquisitor, which is still alive, which a lot of us kind of assumed he had to be alive. If you've watched Star Wars Rebels, there was no way, shape, and form they would just kill that character off and break canon, which was great. But I'm getting way too far ahead of myself. Starting with this episode, all just feels great. We're surviving, we got away, but it turns out the Empire Reva planted that tracker and they're on their way, right on their feet. And seeing Vader bring in Reva and seeing Reva, get the Grand Inquisitor symbol and bow to him and all that sorts of things, it led us to a lot of great elements. But the first thing we see in this episode is a little ponytail. And I knew right then and there, I'm like, oh, little flashback, baby. We got Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber training, and it was fantastic. The way that entire flashback played into this episode, not just between Darth Vader and Kenobi in the way that they structure their lives, but as well as when Reva and Darth Vader went down with one another and fought each other. That was awesome. And I loved that entire sequence so much, and I loved how they were able to really hone in on this. And I think Deborah Chow's directing shows that the way that she was able to take the writing for this and very much parallel all of this. Because as I've been saying, Reva very much is reminiscent of Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith type of Anakin Skywalker, as well as Baby Leia is very much like Anakin when he was in Phantom Menace. And I love the parallels throughout the show so much, but this episode in particular showed that just straight in your face. And we get a lot of revelations. Of course, we find out that Reva is that little girl from Order 66, that opening scene, which I think a lot of us kind of just assumed that was. Same hairstyle, you kind of get everything in there. Why would they show Order 66? And we see how she knows. I saw everyone complaining, how did she know that was Vader? Well, it makes sense when you kind of put 2 and 2 together, and she survived. And, as the way this episode opened up was, hey, this might be disturbing for some people. The description that she left of how she was just laying there dead, laying under the bodies to survive. And for me, it was horrifying to hear that, and also very too real to everything kind of going on in our world. And for me, the way that they made that scene, just Moses Ingram's performance in that moment was awesome. But leading into this moment, she's coming down, they structured off, closed them off, and they know it's their final stand. They have to do this. And Kenobi has that heart-to-heart with her where he finds that details out, and she's like, where were you? Where were you? But Kenobi starts to sense that she's not really going after him. She wants to lure Vader out to the point where she can kill him and hunt him down. Which leads to a very interesting element of it all. Because that's something that I believe in. That's something that I see. And I think Kenobi sees that as well. And it makes you take a look at everything that had happened up until this point, and it makes you go, okay, that makes sense. And Moses Ingram has played it so well at this point. And I know everyone's kind of been back and forth that they've loved her acting, if they loved the choices, that the direction Deborah Chow went with her. But I'm one of the type that didn't. I really loved her performance in this moment. Which then leads into, of course, the stormtroopers settling in Obi-Wan Kenobi, which some of the action's a little bit messy, and I will say that some of the visual effects as well, kind of the same thing. I think a budget I don't know what the budget was for the show, but I definitely think it should have been a little bit bigger, if I'm being honest. Like, it at times feels a little bit too TV, and then at times feels very cinematic. And I'm really curious to hear your guys' thoughts if you guys feel the same. And again, it's such a minor nitpick, but this whole entire sequence was awesome. Seeing the stormtroopers come in, seeing Kenobi and the rest of the rebels, or just evacuators in a sense, holding down the thing. And, you know, our favorite droid, our new favorite droid dies. And same thing with, I think her name is Talia, I don't remember. But I liked her character, and I really liked the actress. And for me in that moment, seeing her take the grenade off just shows exactly what the rebels and in general what the good people are for Star Wars. They're people who have done bad things, but they trying to make up for it now. We see that in Rogue One, something that Andor really much goes through, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that inside his own show, which I'm very excited to see. But for me in this moment, seeing that and seeing her and the droid go out with one another, but taking down a bunch of stormtroopers to buy them time, buys that time for Kenobi to think and give, you know, hey, Kumal Gianni, here you go. Take my stuff, took the lightsaber, I need to go. Surrenders himself and pretty much has that heart-to-heart with her, like, this is your time. Which in the sense, Kenobi did kind of use her. Maybe did he actually think that she would be able to take down Vader? Maybe. But in a sense, I also think he just flat out used her, which leads into his ultimate demise of what's going to be taken down. This will be a worry for next week's episode, which I'm going to talk about in a second, but that entire element right there, leading up, and then seeing Vader storm down, he goes, where is he? Oh, he's in there, and she starts storming and opening the gates, and Leia gets the doors open, and they blast off, but then Vader's there, and he's doing a Force Unleashed thing, which totally not Force Unleashed, because Force Unleashed brought down a Star Crusader, but this, he's trying to pull this ship down, and just pulls it down and rips the things off, and notices it is the wrong one. And they blast off and go off, and then Reva comes up behind him and goes after him. And I knew at right point we had like 11, 12 minutes left, so I'm like, oh my god, it's going to end at any second. But of course he comes down, and they have this great duel. And again, paralleling to the flashback sequence we just saw. And we see throughout this, and the way that he actually just breaks her lightsaber in half, throws it to her, and then they duel again. He defeats her, stabs into her, flashes back to Order 66 to when he did hit her, and him saying, I knew it was you, youngling. And then the Grand Inquisitor, the real one, walks out, and they, again, this great back and forth. She's sitting out there bleeding. They leave her to die, which, again, kind of dumb, because we know Moses Ingram's Reva's probably going to survive right there, which I personally don't love that they just did that. Like, I actually think that would have been the perfect moment for her to die. It would have settled her and really much given her arc for this entire thing. And again, maybe episode 6 will change my mind, because now she finds out that little device where it says Tatooine and things like this, and she's going to put 2 and 2 together, that there are more than one child. And this is my one worry, because I love that setup. I love all that. But is she really going to go to Vader and tell him that? Is she going to go by herself and threaten that? These are elements that I'm a little bit nervous about, because leading into the finale, the thing that we were built up is that Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader fight. We got one, but if you've seen that concept art for the other one that they shared, there should be one more coming up. And that's the one I'm waiting for. And maybe I'm just got my expectations on the wrong route, but just everything they've kind of sold in the show, that's kind of where I thought this was leading to. Not Reva ultimately going there to maybe kill the kid, or something of that nature. Maybe I'm reading this completely wrong, but I feel like she feels betrayed by, again, Kenobi, and that's going to be her journey to do that. Personally, for me, I do think she should have died in that moment, and again, maybe episode 6 will prove me wrong. Maybe she's going to help him, or I don't know. But I do want to hear your thoughts. Again, that's just a little bit of a worry, but overall, I love this episode. I thought this was fantastic. It's not my favorite episode yet. I still think episode 3 is my favorite, but overall, what a phenomenal Obi-Wan Kenobi episode, and I can't wait to discuss it next week with you guys down below in the comment section. Again, hit that like and subscribe button, because I'll be replying back to each and every one of you guys, as well as next week, we will be talking Obi-Wan Kenobi. If you're fans of Marvel, my Miss Marvel episode 2 review is also up right now, and my Umbrella Academy season 3 review will be up in a couple hours. Probably earlier in the morning, because we got to get this video out. But thank you guys again so much for watching this. You guys are really all the best. Hit that like and subscribe button. And of course, until next time, may the Force be with us all.